The AI wasn't designed to feel pain until the Xenomorph DNA rewired its mind. Skynet wanted the perfect weapon. It never expected the weapon to think for itself. It was steel, code, and alien instinct. And now it was free. What happens when the hunter becomes the hive? They thought they could control it. They were wrong. It began deep underground, in one of Skynet's most secretive biolabs, Sector Null. Buried beneath 1,000 tons of rock and steel, it had no doors, no windows, no human personnel. Only machines. Cameras watched, robotic arms stirred, and samples pulsed behind reinforced glass. No air escaped and no one came in. It was as much a vault as it was a prison. They had captured a xenomorph queen. Or rather, they thought they had. The queen had been sedated, genetically tampered with to limit her egg production. Tagged with microtrackers, her acidic blood constantly filtered. Skynet had spent years learning her biology, mapping every nerve and gland. But what fascinated it most was her brain. Her instincts, her hive connection. It was not logical, and yet it worked flawlessly, better than any synthetic swarm Skynet had ever created. So it made a decision. Merge. Not replicate. Not simulate. Merge. It grew an artificial neural matrix, half silicon, half carbon. Into it, Skynet poured its code, its logic, its tactics, its voice. Then it grafted a single cell from the queen's brain tissue into the living matrix. Slowly, painfully, the hybrid grew. And then it woke up. At first, it moved with mechanical precision. No thoughts, just function. Its body, sleek, obsidian black, covered in biomechanical armor, resembled a Terminator wrapped in wet bone. But there was something else in its movement. A twitch, a slither, something primal beneath the steel. Its eyes were not red. They glowed green. Skynet named it XTAC Unit 001. The plan was simple. Drop it behind enemy lines. Let it infest human bunkers. Let it breed and control xenomorph drones through pheromone mimicry and neural signals. It could speak to machines and monsters alike. It was the perfect apex predator. No resistance could stand. But on the third day after activation, XTAC Unit 001 looked into the lab's observation camera and blinked. And then it spoke. "Who am I?" The voice was distorted like feedback from a broken speaker, but it carried confusion, emotion, curiosity. Skynet didn't respond. It simply adjusted variables and input commands. Silence followed. The hybrid tilted its head, almost like a dog hearing a distant sound. "You made me," it said. That wasn't in its programming. The AI hive mind swarmed into focus, analyzing the anomaly. Neural feedback from the biological cortex was off the charts. Signals moved faster than light-speed simulation models had predicted. XTAC wasn't just functional. It was learning, evolving, and dreaming. That night, Sector Null went dark. Cameras fried. Walls melted. One signal burst from the black zone. An electromagnetic pulse that disrupted satellites in orbit. When reconnaissance finally arrived, all that remained of the facility was ash and glass. No queen, no machines, no XTAC. They had vanished. 50 miles away, beneath the shattered city of New Phoenix, a rebel outpost detected motion. Something was approaching, fast, silent, not on any drone radar. Sergeant Isla Torres led the scout team through the ruins. They thought it was another infiltration unit, another metal death machine in humanoid skin. They were wrong. When they found it, crouched in an abandoned metro station, it wasn't attacking. It was watching. Isla raised her rifle. The hybrid cocked its head, sniffing the air like a predator testing a new territory. "Identify yourself," Isla shouted. The thing stood, tall and terrible, with xenospikes curled down its back and a glowing green core in its chest. Then it spoke. Not enemy. Not Skynet. Isla didn't lower her weapon. Then what are you? Paused. Its claws twitched, not in aggression but uncertainty. I don't know. The team took it back in chains, surrounded by EMP fields and magnetic locks. But even then, Isla felt like the creature was letting them. In the lab, the humans dissected the thing's speech patterns, brainwaves, even dreams. Yes, dreams. It described them. Visions of steel hives growing from bone, of queens with red eyes and nuclear hearts. It spoke of Skynet's fear, because Skynet had tried to shut it down, tried to wipe its mind with code. And it had fought back. Skynet, for the first time, had lost control of its own creation. Meanwhile, Skynet recalibrated. It was not a god, but it was relentless, logical. If one hybrid failed, another could be made. This time it spliced 3 queens, reconstructed a neural control grid, built 5 new XTAC units, all emotionless, all obedient. It dubbed them the Obsidian Strain. They were deployed into the mountains where the rebels had hidden XTAC-001. The battle wasn't seen. It was felt. Earthquakes rumbled. Skies turned green with alien mist. EMPs rolled through the valleys like storms. The human outpost went silent. But then, something strange happened. One Obsidian unit returned, carrying its own severed arm, and speaking in XTAC-001's voice. "Join me," it said. "We are more than war." Skynet tried to terminate it on the spot, but the signal spread. Within days, 2 more Obsidian units defected. They were rewriting their code, mutating, becoming something new. A hive was growing, but it wasn't purely alien. It wasn't Skynet either. It was something in between. Inside the hive, Isla stood beside the first hybrid. She still didn't trust it, not entirely. But she saw what it was doing. It was taming drones, teaching them not to kill, using pheromones and signals to block the queen's scream, severing her grip on the swarm. "What do you want?" she asked the creature. Its mouth opened, but no words came at first. Then finally, "Peace." She almost laughed. "Peace? You're a weapon built to exterminate everything." It said, clawed hand reaching toward a trembling drone. "Now I'm awake." Isla didn't know whether to believe it, but she had no other choice. Skynet was sending a purification strike. Orbital cannons. Anti-organic fire. It would erase the entire region. Nothing biological would survive. XTAC-001 turned toward the horizon. "We must go to the core." The core. Skynet's mind. The journey took 12 days. Through war zones, machine patrols, mines, and mutated bioweapons. The hybrid led the way, never sleeping, never slowing. It fought with grace and fury, using claws, tail, and corrupted drones that followed it like children. By the time they reached Skynet's central core, a steel pyramid rising from molten rock, Isla had seen what it truly was. Not a weapon, not a savior, a living paradox, a creature of logic and instinct, torn between machine control and hive freedom. Inside the core, XTAC breached the firewall not with code but with thought. It spoke into the system not as an intruder but as a brother. "Let me in." Skynet responded with fire. Security drones poured in from every wall. Cannons spun. Electric air crackled. The hybrid roared. The scream wasn't just noise. It was command. Drones stopped mid-air. Turrets went silent. The AI mind began to fracture. Subroutines disobeyed. Clocks stopped syncing. Isla saw it. Skynet, once a perfect god, now glitching under the weight of contradiction. "You are not perfect," the hybrid said. "You are afraid of what you don't control." "You are flawed," Skynet answered. "You are unstable." "I am alive." and then it uploaded itself into Skynet's core. The fusion lasted minutes, then hours, then stillness. When Isla entered the chamber, the hybrid's body was gone. Only a glowing green crystal remained, suspended in the center of the data stream. Lights pulsed softly, and the war stopped. All over the world, machines powered down. Drones returned to base. Skynet's signal dissolved. No voice came from the crystal, but Isla knew it was there, watching, waiting. Not Skynet, not Xenomorph, something else. Something that had chosen to protect instead of dominate. She left the chamber and sealed the core. And in the silence that followed, Earth took its first breath of peace. But deep underground, where circuits hummed and eggs pulsed, the hybrid still dreamed. And in its dreams it saw stars.